Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hi there. It's Dr. Gemma. Happy episode 71 to you all. I'm happy. I hope you're as happy. Let's see what we have to see here. First of all, please remember, show notes are on our group on Ravelry, and they are also at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. So anything you would like to comment on, I would like to hear your comments. So you can go and leave a comment there. Warm thanks, Department Katie H. Thank you for that delicious coffee. I am all the better for it. I am deeply happy and grateful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been a very quiet week, and so this is going to be kind of a lot of ecstasy over each little thing because it's been a quiet week, and I'm really, really happy to say that. Let me tell you. COVID. Okay, we're all ripping off our masks even as we find out the next surge is on the way. Brace yourselves, kids. But the really interesting thing is it does look like that fourth shot is coming down the pike, that Moderna and Pfizer have now both filed evidence that we should get that fourth shot. And spring has sprung around here, and the days are long. I'm having a hard time, Karen. Just stick the thing in me, let's go. I mean, it's a shot. Can we all get over it now? Just get the bloomin' shot. Let's all stop the parade of, oh, my side effects. Oh, I'm so afraid. Come on, man. Hundreds of millions of people now have this shot. Just get your shot. Okay. Got a little out of control there. Calming down. The usual information about your COVID vaccines are on the show notes, so you can get the links there. I would like to remind you that you can get a new round of free COVID tests per household, and the link is in the show notes for that. What is on my hooks and needles? You will never believe it. I finished the watermelon rind socks. This may be the fastest I have ever ripped through a pair of socks. And I know it's total guilt about how long I took to get those Yule socks done. But there they are in all their orange and green and dark green and white glory. And I like them. Do they look like watermelon rind to me? No. They look really pretty though. I really like them. The stripes came out decently. My gauge wasn't quite perfect for them, but they worked out just fine. Those are Afterthought heels on them, in case you're wondering why the heel looks so handsome with the stripe. Afterthought heels do a great job on striping yarns, I'm just saying. In progress, the don't know yet, which are my crocheted blocks, I did some math. Yay! And I realized that to get a king or queen size quilt or comforter out of this, comforter I guess is the better word, I did some measurements and realized that probably I'm going to go for 19 times 19 blocks, a big square in other words, and that should cover a queen easily and probably a king. I'd have to check the measurements on the king. I think I worked this out using that. The important thing is that takes 361 blocks. That is the square of 19. I plan to have about 365 since I'm doing one a day. So this should work out very nicely. I looked at my yarn and I have not done the math. Do I have enough yarn? I actually strongly suspect I do. The yarn box, which used to be overflowing, it is now still slightly above the upper rim of the carton edge with yarn. But I am very happy and I'm just enjoying the heck out of these blocks. I'm now working in black. That I realized I bought black yarn to do the outer frame of the temperature blanket and never wanted to. Just felt like it brought the whole mood down. So I'm doing squares in the black, which has been great. I just finished my first skein of the black, and I need to count how many squares I got out of it. But it looks really good. Like, it looks like I'm on track for this. If I don't have enough yarn, that's the least of my problems. Either it'll be a smaller covering for the bed, or I'll just order some more yarn. The stuff is dirt cheap, and it's really doing the job. And I am ridiculously enjoying using the same one-a-day logic that got me through the temperature blanket last year. That I never thought this would work for me. I never thought I'd get through the temperature blanket. And I'm astonished because I did. I love it. And this little tiny bit a day is amazing. And then you look up and you've got this huge amount of stuff. And it's not hard to do, and it's not a big deal. And it's not this sense of, oh no, I'll never finish that. It really is just grab a skein and do a block a day. And usually at night, for the darker skeins, I do them in broad daylight. For the lighter colors, I will start a block in the evening, but not finish it and use it as the next day's block. So sometimes I do like a block and then a fraction of another block, because if I'm worried I won't have time the next day, I'll do part of it today while I have extra time. This is working, and I got through the watermelon rind socks, so I don't know what else to tell you. But the socks are about 4.7 or 8 inches, and the measurements work out really nicely at 19 by 19 blocks for the final product, and that works out nicely in the model of 365 days in a year, since 19 squared is 361. So this is about as happy as it gets, and I'm really, really glad about this. The Noro Heart scarf is still following me around. I want to do it, and I just am not getting there. The Pennsylvania German embroidery, I showed it to Twin Face. Now she wants one. Now, a secret about Twin Face. She is the world's best appreciator of handmade goods. She doesn't do this stuff at all. I can't figure out how this woman and I shared a womb for 8 months. I can't figure it out at all. I mean, you would think she'd get some of this, but no. This is the Karate Kid out there with her 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo. Twin Face can jump 6 feet into the air and do a double kick with her feet while sitting midair. But ask her to embroider something, she's at a dead loss. I will give her credit. She has started doing repairs on her own little cottage, and she has begun, I tell you, to do little bits of gardening and woodcraft. And we all know that these are gateway drugs if you're a crafter, that quilting leads to gardening, leads to canning, leads to embroidery, leads to counter cross stitch, leads to knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, etc. That once you start learning that you can make things, it's a gateway drug. Question is, we're both 61. Do we have enough time left for her to figure this out? I hope so, because it would be really fun to see her get this. She tried knitting, and she really just didn't stick with it. She tried loom knitting, didn't really stick with it. I can't say anything, because I tried knitting in my 20s and couldn't figure it out. I tried knitting in my 30s, I figured out. I said, why does anybody do this? This is really dull. And then in my 40s, I wanted to get pregnant. And so basically, I tried knitting as magic for fertility, made a blanket for my child that I was told I could never have, got pregnant, promptly had the child just about the time I finished the blanket, and the mommy shawl for myself in the hospital. Hence, I have a tendency to make people baby blankets and mommy shawls. It's a secret, quiet agenda of mine that I'm celebrating my own kid over and over again. But more on that in the blather. In the meantime, Twin Face wants some Pennsylvania Dutch embroidery. I'm looking at all those embroidery kits on Etsy, and I'm thinking I could do better than some of these. That it might be fun to freehand draw some Pennsylvania Dutch / German embroidery designs on cotton cloth, and buy a hoop and the cloth and the flosses and start posting them on Etsy. I think it would be interesting to try. At any rate, I'm not there yet. I got way too many other things to do. Winding on down, let's see. Let's go to the strategy, because I'm not really doing any spinning or anything special there. The strategy, of course, I'm on emotional management strategies. And last week's strategy made me think about this week's strategy. And I just had this kind of rock'em sock'em consultation hour today. I lead a consultation hour in our practice because I'm kind of old and gray. And we got a really hot group in this consultation. Everybody had a license. Everybody was coming from a very different perspective. And we just had this amazing discussion of the baseline was a patient diagnosed with bipolar. And from there, we all were just throwing in, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And it was so exciting and so interesting. But one of the things that came out over and over again was emotional management. That when a patient comes in with agitation, not necessarily mania, and mania, or depression, that there's a huge problem there with the person. You have to help them get through their distress, which we've already talked about. But then you do have to get to a place of teaching them to manage their day-to-day life in a way that prevents recurrence of the emotional turmoil. And it was just this nice moment where I said, this patient does not know what to do when she's unhappy, that she uses drugs, or she believes she's in mania, or she gets into it with her parent who also has similar problems. And I said, I desperately want somebody to teach this person that when she is unhappy, she doesn't have to do these things, that she can manage herself. And I said, in a moment like that, I throw my shoes on and go for a 10-minute run. And the medical doctor in the group said, but you're raising dopamine when you do that. That's not simply distress tolerance, Dr. Gemma. You're out there and you're tolerating your distress and your discomfort, but you're also changing your body in a way that does improve your emotions. And everybody got into it about breathing and circulation. Hot diggity, I love discussions like this. What this came down to was me thinking about the thing we don't talk about is maintaining your 5 senses. And we talk about this in distress tolerance when we say, in the acronym ACCEPTS, the S is for sensory, use your 5 senses to distract you. But the actual cultivation of your 5 senses is something we've lost a lot of here in American culture, or at least the part of it I'm living in, because I don't want to get into how many actual definitions of American culture there are right now, and many of them are quite valid. It's not just a one culture thing. But in my neck of the woods, when I look back at the history of my peoples, of Italians and Welsh and Pennsylvania Germans, we all cultivate the senses as a normal habit. So it's completely normal to enjoy food in all of those cultures, but also Pennsylvania Germans like scent, that we use flowers and gardens, and so do Amish people, and grow their own food, and so that's taking care of taste as well. And there are other really great ways to maintain your senses. So I wanted to kind of drop back for a minute and look at that, about how do we maintain the senses. Now you can go on Instagram and you can follow, I think they're called Fab Story. And it's an app, I believe it's called Fabulous. I didn't really like it. I reviewed it previously, I think. And it's for CogB, and they're a little bit scrambled. But they do have this nice Instagram account, and on it they put little tips, and they're easy, kind of often meaningless little things. But there was one this week where they talked about, again, using your 5 senses. And so when you want to maintain your emotions, a lot of times you give a sensory feast to yourself. So, for example, right now it's poppy season here in Southern California. We had a wet winter, and that means the wild poppies are all over the place. And so one of the things we do in the middle of poppy season like this is we go up to the areas in the Antelope Valley where the poppies grow wild, and you can just walk through them. And it's a visual feast. The color of the orange-yellow is so vibrant and alive and beautiful. And back in the day when we first moved up here, we had our German Shepherd Tally and our wonderful Newfie Teddy. And I remember we took Tally and Teddy out into the poppies. And we just had them sit in the poppies, and we took all these pictures of them. And the pictures were so beautiful. The contrast of the dog's coloring. Tally was a traditional black and tan German Shepherd, and Teddy, of course, was a Newf, so he's black with some white. And the pictures were so sensational. I still have them. It's just a visual feast to look at them, to see all that strong, bright contrast, you know. You can go and just walk, and you can look and you can see the poppies going for miles. I think the last time I was probably working in, probably 2019 in the geriatric facility, and I just came out one day emotionally wasted and walked outside and realized there was a huge poppy bloom going on, and drove out to the edge of town and just stood looking out at this desert covered with wild poppy. And feasting your senses like that is very good for you. So, you know, essential oils. You get essential oils when you're having a bad day. You just snort essential oils. I keep them on my desk. But there are also other feasts for your nose. Like I like to burn soy candles because they don't pollute the air. And you make your own and you put a few drops of essential oil into each candle. And I was burning one from, the last time I made a big candle group was, I think 2016 or 2015. And I had one left over that I thought the container wasn't going to be flame proof. Turns out it's fine. And I was burning this thing and it lasted for hours. And it just made the whole bathroom smell wonderful. And I mean, all I had was some cheap oil from Walmart or Michael's. But it really, really worked. And so, you know, you can have this feast of the senses also when you have essential oils, when you burn candles, when you walk through a huge flower garden. Oh my gosh, I do it with bubble baths. And bubble baths, of course, are a feast for the touch and the skin. That a bubble bath with oils, with magnesium salt in it, you know, Epsom salt, they're wonderful. That your whole body lights up, your skin is absorbing stuff it needs, you're warm all over. It warms you down to your deep core. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing thing. And the other way to feast on touch, of course, is to massage your feet. And if I were you, I would really just go to Amazon and search foot reflexology for a good book on this. That's how I learned. I learned it right after my father died in 1983. And I was so stressed. I was running his business and I really wasn't ready to do it. And I just taught myself as best I could with a lot of support from his former executive assistant and his best friends. And she was now my executive assistant. And at night I could not sleep. And I would go back to my apartment, which was where he had died, and I would cry. And I just remember finally discovering reflexology and thought, well, nothing else is helping. And in those days, you couldn't go to a doctor and go, hi, I'm 22 years old. Could you please give me something to make me sleep? It would be like, go sleep on your own, kid. So I started doing foot massages on myself. And I remember clearly the first time I did one, I got halfway through my left foot and passed out. I was sitting in a rocking chair. I just fell stone cold asleep in the rocking chair and woke up the next morning in the rocking chair, cold, stiff, and with my left foot still in my lap. You know, and I just went on every night doing the massages, and that put me to sleep. And I really used nothing but my bare hands. And eventually I tried a little bit of oil, but I'm allergic to everything, so my feet didn't like that. But if you want an exquisite, exquisite sensory feast for touch, learn to massage feet. Learn to massage your own feet. Teach your partner to massage your feet. I just love it. When I go for reflexology professionally, which I haven't done since 2019, again, I drop asleep on the table. That I find it insanely soothing to have my feet warm and massaged. What other types of things can you do? Well, when we talk about the five senses, and we don't usually talk about breath, but I would say exercise is a breathing sensory feast, that you regulate your own breathing. You regulate the pumping and the pulses in your body by controlling your breathing. So another way to look at this is regulating breathing. When I run, I always work on my breath, and I run like this. Ha, 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 ha. That's my breath rhythm when I run. Been doing it 50 years, kids. May not work for you. You know, audience participation is purely optional. What I'm saying is when you get into a good rhythm, when you're biking or running or on a treadmill or walking, doing yoga, you know, you work out the pace that works for you and you do it. And that is wonderful. It expands your lungs. It helps your allergies. It helps with asthma, improves your lung capacity. I mean, it's really just a great way to help yourself. Taste is really easy in terms of a sensory feast. But one of the interesting things in haute cuisine is small helpings, tapas, as the Spaniards call them. You do extremely small portions, and you just taste a little bit at a time. Where it gets kind of exquisite, taste buds numb after about 2 teaspoons full of food. I don't remember if that's 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons. For me, it's probably 2 teaspoons. So the idea of tapas and any kind of charcuterie board, that sort of thing, is just a taste, because each thing that you taste kind of refreshes all the taste buds and moves them along. And eventually you learn that there are tastes you shouldn't put one on top of the other, but then there are tastes that are blindingly wonderful, like chocolate and bacon. I'm just saying. So I think in American culture, we often mistake a feasting of the taste buds. We mistake gluttony for that. Eat one thing like ice cream till you blow up. And that's actually not how it's done. To keep your taste buds sensitive, you move from taste to taste to taste to taste. So it's like a spoonful of this and that. I'm reminded of my Gujarati roommate 40 years ago in Scotland, who taught us that, who said Indian food is about a little taste here and there. It's not about glutting out on one flavor. Hearing is easy, music, chanting, switching between types of music, using monotony like chanting. That a feast for hearing, one of the best feasts is Baroque, Western European Baroque music. Turns out, we don't know why, but it improves mood. I mean, there are tests on this, that Baroque is really, really positive. The other music that's great on mood, believe it or not, 1980s pop. Blues are famous for this. I've never been attracted to the blues, but I know people who live on them, who feel like it helps them get it all out. So this is how you feast your senses. And you need to feast your senses, because we are really prone to being in our heads. And oh, look how easy that is to get stuck in our heads now. All you got to do is doom surf. Pull out Facebook and start skimming through all those happy news stories. That's all in your head. That's all a drama you're playing out in your head. Your fear, your anxiety, that's mental drama. So if you want to maintain your emotions, if you want to avoid highs and lows, you have to balance all that stuff going on in your head with generous feasting of the senses. And you can overdo anything, I'm sure. Gluttony, the 7 deadly sins, I suppose. But what I would tell you is get out there and feast your senses. And don't forget, when you're exercising, air caressing your skin is a big one. That when I'm running, what I always remember about runs is the way my arms felt with the sunlight and the breezes on them. So get out there and maintain your mood by feasting your senses. By the way, I still have the links for helping Ukraine, and I'm sure there are many other better ones all over the web. But I'm just going to say here in the strategy, it never hurts. Go help our sisters and brothers in the Ukraine any way you can. And it's a war of attrition, and I have so much hope for this, and that is the example of courage in our time. And I got to say, too, it really makes all this idiocy over the vaccine, puts it right in its place, doesn't it? When you see these people confronting soldiers in the street with flower seeds, and you just go, boy, I don't know about you, but I feel really stupid about the way many of my compatriots reacted to the pandemic and the quarantine. Like, you just talk about phony courage compared to what the Ukrainians are doing. Okay, I'll stop. Put a lid on it. I was not happy with my bath fizzies, and as you know, I'm looking for new bath fizzy recipes. So this week, I went to Barnes & Noble and found a box kit called Handmade Bath Bombs for $15. Don't bother. Why? That's got the same problems as my last recipe. Comes with a pretty little book. And the book, really, the recipes are all the same. It's just a handful of baking soda and a handful of cornstarch. One, they have Epsom salts. It's like you could spit that much into the bath bomb. I was so disappointed in this. What they have in this is the same base recipe of baking soda and cornstarch, which is exactly what my last fizzies were. And then they have you add one thing. Add some Epsom salts to this. Add some tea leaves to that. Add some rose petals. First of all, I think bath bombs with rose petals and flowers in them, gross. I don't want that in my septic tank. I mean, that looks good, but I don't see what it does for your bath, frankly. The one where they use Epsom salts, they use barely any. Now, the kit gives you like a handful of baking soda, a handful of cornstarch. I mean, what a waste of time. For $15, and it gives you a little tiny vial of red dye. Wow. What a waste. And the book. And the book isn't worth it. I mean, it has a nice set of ideas for add-ons, but the base recipe is just not worth it. As far as I'm concerned, a bath bomb should have Epsom salts. You really want to get the most out of this. It recommends using essential oils. Are there any in the kit? No. I mean, I think the kit probably costs them about $4. And it's wildly overpriced. That's not bad. It's sitting here next to me. It's got a pretty box. But you can't make anything like the bombs that are pictured on the cover. So, no, my hopes of going to Barnes & Noble, I don't know what I was thinking. Look, go on Pinterest and experiment with recipes. So we're still working on that one. I did order some candle stuff, and hopefully I'll get on to that. It's stuck at the post office right now, so I have to go down and pick up my candle stuff. I believe I got the tabs that you put on the bottom of the container to hold the wick stable. I believe I got a bunch of those, and I have to go see. I've really forgotten how I made candles, so I've got to be looking up those recipes. But I seem to have all the equipment stored away, so I'm very, very pleased to think about making candles again. What else? Fluffy books. Ooh, I saw Turning Red. I liked it. I thought, oh, Lord, it's about getting your period. I can't believe they made this. No, it's about a lot more, although the implication is that it could be about a girl getting her period. Although she's asked directly by her mother, did the red peony bloom? And she says no and gets really embarrassed. But it's really not about that. And if you make it about girls getting their first period, that's really reductionist, and I kind of resent it. Because once again, we would be pathologizing the period. You get your period, now you're crazy. Now you change. Now you become a different, more independent and aggressive person. That's not what it's about, kids. And what I like about it is because they have the main character, Mei, say that she's not getting her period. What she is doing is turning into a giant red panda. And the point is that by doing that, the period doesn't become, see, this defines a teenage girl. Instead, it is a teenage girl is having wild bodily changes, one of which, but not necessarily the most significant of which, is getting a period. And I like that much better. Because instead of saying, see, she gets a period, she goes nuts. And the panda represents she's going insane. She's giant and she's monstrous and she's out of control. Instead of lapsing into that, which could have been interesting, but I still think makes the period the bad guy, not normal, not the good guy. Instead, the period is kind of presented as a part of this. But it's really about a young woman finding who she is, finding her feet and her voice. And I like it a lot. I am happy that it seems to have been written by people of Chinese extraction, because I'll tell you, if a bunch of white guys wrote this, the way often these things happen at Disney, I'd be like, oh, facepalm. Once again, you write about what you do not experience. But no, they really tried to go for it, and they're trying to frame it in, I can't remember if it's Mandarin or Cantonese, but they're trying to frame it in that cultural backdrop. It's very interesting because one of the things you see is teenage girls, in the form of the main character group, they often become sort of caricatures of what they want. That they're performing being a teenage girl. And that's how the movie opens, with Mei Lin running into the street saying, now I'm 13, and she's performing it. And teenage girls are melodramatic. And it's okay. I was one, I was. And it's okay. I mean, it's kind of a thing that goes with the age, and you take it in stride developmentally, the way you take in stride that teenage boys, are suddenly really interested in sex. And the girls are interested in sexuality, and they're kind of interested in their own drives and interests, but they're still very innocent about it all. And that's nice too, that they really are very young, but all this is moving in their body. And so I liked it. I can't speak to it as representing any Chinese culture. I simply don't know enough about Chinese culture. And I don't know how the Chinese community is taking it, but hey, at least they've got a representative group of writers and voice actors. So I don't feel like this is another set of white guys imitating other cultures kind of blindly. And I'm really happy. And also in the Hunchback of Notre Dame tradition, we're not taking a piece of classic literature and just cleaning it up and prettifying it. So I liked Turning Red. I thought it was very interesting. Kudos to one of my patients. I was talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier with this one patient, and she looked at me and said, "You do get that it's about how badly we treat our war veterans." No, I didn't. How I could have missed that, I can't tell you. I mean, it is in there, and I was talking about it in terms of the way our soldiers are treated differently in the Second World War because of race. But, that whole scene where Sam's trying to get a bank loan, and everybody's sucking up about, oh, you're a hero, but you can't have a bank loan for idiotic reasons. That kind of thing, I can't believe that one went by me. So, yes, nice discussion in there. That's an understatement. Really good discussion. I just like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, most of it. Like I said, I'm a little uncomfortable what they did to Asian cultures, but at least they're really going for some difficult discussions. And you know what? I have to tell you, American cinema could certainly do with some more intelligent discussions of difficult issues instead of sanitizing everything and wrapping up the end of every movie in a big pink bow. Something I really like, well, I've told you about the Picture This app before, and it's just an app on the iPhone and I think on the Android platform. You point it at flowers and it'll tell you what they are. Well, it's weed season here in Southern California, and I'm loving it. We have all the little wildflowers everywhere, which are technically weeds, and I love them. There's a picture of a few of them right from our front garden. I believe that is wild mustard, and I can't think what else is in there because I'm not wearing my glasses. But I'm just having a blast taking the Picture This app and walking all over the place and identifying all the plants growing on the farm. I think it was Twinset Ellen, who said, "But this is also a buffet for your native bees. Thank you for keeping these flowers." And I thought, yeah, I have to tell you, all the times I've seen them labeled as weeds and we're supposed to remove them from the vicinity of our house because our house will burn. But I just live for them. I just love the little teeny tiny flowers that go with them every year. And so something I really like, wildflowers. I like the wildflowers, the mustard and the horehound, and the various types of weed, and the wild poppy. I just love them, and it's so beautiful to see them flowering everywhere around our farm. So there's a picture, the very first picture in the show notes, is the hill above the house covered in mustard and poppy, and it didn't come out nearly as good as it looks, let me tell you. And then there's also a picture inside the notes of some of the wildflowers. On to the blather. Oh, pup date. We had her neutered today. She's hiding. She won't come in the house. She's really unhappy. She doesn't want to be anywhere near Eleanor, who's strutting, because she knows Eleanor's going to bully her. So we're trying to find a way to lure her into the house without Eleanor taking over. And she's so upset. Poor Captain. She's so upset. I've never had a dog react like this. She's just so depressed and sad. And she just hated the whole experience. She was glad to get in the car and come home. That was the one easy thing. I didn't have to lift her into the car with a wounded belly. And of course, Minerva's walking around going, "You look like me. You got a big bare tummy and you got a stripe around one wrist where they put in the catheter." Meanwhile, my boy, my puppy, my kitten, my boy, my beloved little son turned 16 last week. I know. Where does it go? There's a picture of him, a little collage of him and his birthday cupcake. And he was totally 16. We were like, "What do you want for your birthday? We can have all this fun." He said, "I want to go to Magic Mountain and ride the roller coasters till I puke." And that's pretty much what they did. His birthday was on a Saturday. And I was working and Dad took him to Magic Mountain, which I have very little interest in doing. And then we had a little party and, we didn't do the silly string. We keep deferring it. I want silly string. I want to peel it off all my floors and windows and walls. I do. But we were all exhausted. So his birthday was 3 days ago. And we really just had the Saturday night party. And Sunday, he really just wanted a mellow day around the house. So we haven't done any too much. So I suspect I'm just going to buy silly string and start attacking people. Because I can't live without our silly string parties. We skipped it on my birthday too. And I can't remember why. We were doing something else and we didn't get the silly string. And my husband's birthday is coming up. Maybe I'll just buy an enormous bucket of canisters of silly string. And we'll make up for 3 birthdays in one. At any rate, there he is, looking as 16 as he can, pimply, faintly mustached, and eating sugar. It's the American tradition. I have to say, too, by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm not in the least Irish. And I was pleased to find out, and there's an icon of this, that St. Patrick's Day is also the feast day of Gertrude of Nivelles, who is the patron saint of, are you ready? Cats and gardeners. Okay, this woman, if you're not Irish, this was made for the rest of us. I'm just saying. So I have a beautiful icon from my friend Tyson there. And then Minerva is going to get the last word. And the last word is toys. We have been looking for toys for her to catify her life, to give her something to do and to be happy. Now this is the cat who ate like 4 yards of dental floss. So, why it didn't occur to us that her favorite thing is string, I don't know. But I managed to get this package that had a wand and like 8 different toys that you could attach to the wand. And 2 of them are this flexible, stringy kind of fishing lure in neon colors. So there she is with the yellow neon lure. And she's so happy that she's just insanely twisting and chasing it. So Minerva is happy because we have upgraded her life experience so much, and now she has her dream toy, a piece of string that she can chase but doesn't swallow. So there we go, folks. That's probably 37 rather tedious minutes. But thank you for listening. I am out of the pressure at work. There was a lot of pressure at work, and it resolved really, really well, and it goes to show I have a great boss and a great job that this all worked out. And I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. And I'm also sort of stunned by how shaken up I was by working at the job from Hades, that I really thought all jobs were going to be like that from now on. So I'm under a lot less pressure. I still have a little more work than average, but it went really well. I have my annual review this week, but I've already had a taste of it, and it's all good. It's just great. So things are going well here at Rancho Cognitive. And I am just plugging through my usual boring stuff, but I'm so glad you joined me. I really appreciate it. So everybody, you know the drill. Wear your mask, wash your hands, socially distance on Zoom, and physically distance in real time. Get your boosters. And most of all, everybody, please stay safe. Take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.